and welcome to Comic Book Day. I am Joe, and this is a show where each week, I buy comics and I'm showing off, what comics I bought and kind of using that to talk about the state of the comic book industry, I guess, and just different storylines, really. First, I have Spider-Man #2. This is a pretty good comic so far. It's exploring who is Miles Morales, the 616 universe version. That's the normal Marvel universe. And yeah, after now they've combined the Ultimate Universe and the normal Marvel universe, but before that, Miles was in the Ultimate Universe, and Peter Parker kind of looked into who is his universes. This all happened in Spider-Man 1, which I haven't actually read, but this was like the very, very end of it. Not, very important, more just setting up this sequel. The normal universe, Peter Parker, after meeting Miles Morales, looked him up, but this revealed that he couldn't find anything, and no one can really find anything about who Miles Morales is. The other, doppelganger kind of. So yeah, they're trying to figure that out. Taskmaster showed up in this issue. Well, he showed up in the last issue, but this issue they got in a fight with him, and he eventually, at one point though, they overheard him talking about the other Miles Morales. So yeah, they're kind of on his trail now, and the other Miles Morales seems to be this like evil, some kind of crime boss, maybe it seems like. So I don't know. They'll explain him probably some more. The next issue seems like maybe he's finally gonna get in a fight with Peter or Miles. So hopefully they'll kind of run into each other and they'll kind of explain. He's got scars all over his face, and I figure that's got to play into who his character is somehow, So I want to see where those came from. This is Southern Bastards #17. This comic, Southern Bastards, it's pretty much my favorite comic book that's, going on right now. My favorite comic book series. And it's kind of funny. I don't even like football, really, but that's what it's about. It's about Craw County and the football coach, the high school football coach, Coach Boss, who is also basically the head of all crime in the county. And yeah, now this is like into I think it's like the third story arc or something. It's kind of taken a long time for it to come out, different issues at different times. This issue actually took a really long time to come out, but it explains in the back that there was just, some personal issues. At the back, actually, there's a nice kind of letter explaining it all, and the problem is that one of the creators, his father had died right after their editor's father had died also, so they took kind of a big, long break. But Jason Latour, one of the creators, he wrote a eulogy for his father and had it in here. I didn't end up reading that because it seemed like it was pretty sad once I started reading it, and I didn't really want to. It was like the first comic I was reading today, and I didn't want to get started with that kind of. But it did seem really nice, and it had a cool drawing that he had cut, a little sketch that he had done of his dad at the back of it, so I liked that. And this is a really great comic. It's always worth the wait whenever it happens. And yeah, now at this point in the comic, Coach Boss has all kind of enemies against him, and now they're kind of starting to work together. A couple of them. There's a couple of enemies that he doesn't even realize exist, basically, who are the most interesting ones, really. And at the end, Roberta Tubb, whose father was kind of the main character in the first story arc, or at least seemed like it. I think Coach Boss really is the main character. But Roberta is finally kind of striking back against Coach Boss, which I'm really, really excited to see where that'll go. Hopefully, this will start to come out a little more regularly now. But, a lot of really great comics seem like they don't come out very regularly. I don't know. The writers are often, working on a bunch of other stuff. Jason Aaron is the writer of this, which he does Star Wars comics, he does Doctor Strange, he does all of the new, he's in charge of Marvel's whole Generations thing that's going on right now. So I think Marvel keeps him really busy, and so that's, I think, one reason why this has kind of taken a while to come out. I mean, this has probably been going on for like 2 years, and they're at 17 issues now. But it's always worth the wait. This is definitely my favorite comic book. So here is Southern Bastards, number 17, and it's not necessarily like my favorite art. I do like the art a lot. I like this little part here, where they threw in this Spawn t-shirt that this character's wearing. This is an Image comic, of course, so, but, yeah, my favorite part of this is that each issue kind of has this little part right here, where, it'll build kind of a little scene in the beginning that you see, and it'll cut to this, where I feel kind of like it's, like a TV show, when the name of the TV show will pop up or something, and it just has always this red, and it pops up and says Southern Bastards, and kind of, sets up really nothing very important usually, but it's a little like preview of kind of what's going on in the issue always in the beginning. But I do like this artwork a lot, and this one, has some awesome stuff. I like this here really a lot. There's a fire here in Coach Boss's office, and you can see kind of, his trophies melting and kind of falling apart there from this fire. I don't know. It's not, like I said, it's not necessarily like the greatest art, but I really like the way that it looks, and it fits the comic very well. The way that the characters are drawn is good, because they're kind of miserable looking people, I feel like, and that is what they're supposed to be. There's Coach Boss, who I think is, one of the best designed characters kind of in this. He has this very, like, realistic quality to him. Everyone's seen a guy kind of, I feel like, looks like this. But it really captures kind of his, like, hatred that is in him. And, he is such a very mean character. So yeah, I love this comic book a lot. It is definitely my favorite comic, and I think it's one that definitely everyone should check out. I think it's able to be enjoyed by anyone, assuming you can, read something with quite a bit of violence in it. This is Luke Cage, number 4. I haven't read this issue yet, but I've liked this series a lot so far, and I like this cover a lot, definitely. I like how Luke looks on here, and then I like how it has these footprints that kind of walk out towards you, and it walk across the title from that building. So yeah, it's had some pretty good covers actually the whole time, but this one's a good one, and hopefully, this comic keeps being good, but I have definitely really enjoyed it. It's kind of exploring Luke Cage's origins a little bit, which I don't know a whole lot about them. Mostly, what I've read little bits on, like, Wikipedia and what I saw in the Luke Cage show. So this will maybe kind of give me a better understanding of it some. At least, kind of, I guess, what the modern version of it is. This is Batman number 29. This is part 4, I think, of the War of Jokes and Riddles, which this is a weird issue. It's kind of all set around Bruce Wayne hosting a dinner for the Joker and the Riddler to try to make peace, and so it's set around this, like, big 9-course meal, and they just show all these different events that are happening kind of at the different courses. It's pretty good, but I feel like more and more you don't see a lot of fighting in this. There's this big war between supervillains going on, Batman villains going on, but you don't get to see a lot of the fighting. I mean, last issue they had a big giant fight between Deathstroke and Deadshot. So, I mean, I guess obviously you can't say there's no fighting at all. But also outside of the fighting, I feel like they haven't really explained any of the villains' motivations. Why are they fighting for the Joker or the Riddler? Maybe it's all just about money. I mean, in this, Bruce Wayne said that he was going to give $1 million to whoever, he decided was worthy of it, basically, between the Joker and the Riddler. That was part of his whole dinner thing. But I don't know. He said that, you know, with $1 million, they could buy away all of the other guys, you know, all their enemies, you know, henchmen and villains that are working for them. But I really would wish that there's kind of some motivation, you know, for each of the villains working for, you know, the Riddler or the Joker. I mean, either of them have money, so why did they pick one or the other, really, you know? Maybe they'll explore that a little bit with some characters at least, but I don't think they'll ever do much explanation. They could kind of surprise me, though, and maybe do a whole issue that is about, you know, just focused on that. That'd be really cool, actually. They did the Kite Man issue to show why he works with the Riddler. So, you know, give us a kind of just less detailed issue. This is Metal #1. Or, I don't know, Dark Knight's Metal #1. I've kind of seen it listed both ways, so I don't know. This is the big, you know, crossover event of DC. I don't know. I thought it was supposed to be a summer event, but it's already starting, you know, this late. They did have the 2 preludes kind of before this, but now it's actually really starting off, and I don't know. This issue was pretty interesting. I'm probably not going to get into the whole crossover of it, though. I'll read this main title, and I'll read, you know, some of the more, you know, some of the titles that I already enjoy or already buy. You know, I'm sure I'll probably buy the actual, you know, like once it crosses over with Batman. I don't know, it probably crosses over with Batman. And I know it crosses over with, like, The Flash, and I think they have a Justice League crossover that I might check out. But, you know, so far, I like what this story is setting up. You know, somehow it's going to involve the Sandman also. I'm sure a lot of you know that already. I think they released it like last week that it was going on. But the Sandman from like Neil Gaiman's Sandman series. So that'll be kind of cool to see. I haven't read the Sandman comics at all, actually. So it'll be cool to kind of get introduced to the character that way. And then, yeah, I want to see this. There's a lot of cool characters kind of involved in this. There's Hawkman, or maybe Hawkman, definitely Hawkgirl, or Kendra Saunders at least. There's Dr. Fate, seems like he's going to be involved. There's been a lot of cool different characters. Also, the whole Justice League is involved, so I want to see that. And yeah, hopefully this will end up being as, you know, cool as it kind of has been building up to. I kind of have mixed feelings, though, on what I've seen of the evil, you know, Batman from the Dark Universe. That's kind of, you know, now this Dark Universe is introduced along with the multiverse. So I don't know. Hopefully this will be as good as, you know, it's been pretty hyped up. What's really awesome about this whole Metal comic book is that it is reuniting Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, who I liked, you know, their run a lot on Batman. And I like Greg Capullo's artwork a lot, for the most part. I actually don't totally like the way that he draws the other members of the Justice League. I mean, this is actually a pretty good picture of it. I did like, one thing that I'll say while I'm right here, I really like how they do kind of these word bubbles. It's a little kind of detail, but I feel like they're really kind of modeled after like older comic books. And here you have, you know, Mongol, and all of his words are kind of a little bit more bold, both because he's a big, powerful enemy and because he's, I don't know, it just seems to fit him very well. And yeah, I like how Greg Capullo draws Batman always. But let's see if, I mean, this is really what I think kind of is a great part of Greg Capullo's work, is that he does these really good drawings of, like, Batman smirking. He has a very, like, sarcastic Batman, him and Scott Snyder. And so a lot of he does a lot of these shadowed, you know, Batman's face, but he's smirking and only his eyes and his teeth show up at all. But if I can find the other Justice League members, here's a shot of all of them kind of It was kind of later on in the comic where I realized, you know, they all have these weird kind of helmet things on right here. Actually, I don't mind Wonder Woman either, actually, but I don't really like how the Flash looks very much. And even, like, Superman, I don't like very much in Green Lantern. Later on here, you get a lot more with them. And I don't know, I guess maybe the Flash is supposed to be really young. I mean, I guess he's sometimes depicted as being kind of younger, but I don't really like how they do him in this comic at all very much, how he's drawn. But still, I really like this artwork a lot. Here's an awesome scene of Batman riding a dinosaur. And they have a couple of these close-ups, actually, of dinosaur eyes that I think are really good looking. It definitely has good artwork, even if I don't like the way that the Justice League looks, basically. And this is more of a Batman storyline, so at least he looks good. This is American Gods number 6. I didn't get to read this comic yet, but so far I've enjoyed American Gods. I kind of feel like it's been a little slow, and I've talked to my girlfriend about it, who she read the actual book by Neil Gaiman. Gaiman, I think I said it both ways now. I don't know how to say it for sure. And I've actually even met him at a book signing, so I should probably know definitely. I think it's Gaiman. But I've enjoyed this for the most part. She told me, though, that it'll be, kind of slow. That's kind of how the book is. Just kind of a road trip story, she said. And, that's what's been happening. They go around and kind of do little kind of, different cons. The main guy is working for this, like, con man kind of guy, Mr. Wednesday. And so, lots of it's kind of, like, funny. You get to see a lot of weird little magic stuff that's happening, too. And somehow there's a bigger story that leads into, how these people are actually gods that the main character, Shadow, is, meeting. So it'd be really interesting. I want to see that unfold. So I think I will, stick through it still. Even though it's been a little slow. That's not always a bad thing, though. And that is it for this week. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Make sure to go through and subscribe, leave a like for this, and comment telling me what you think of any of these comics, if there's one that you really liked. If you read Southern Bastards, let me know, because if you read it and like it, I want to talk about it with you. I love that comic, and if you've got any comics that you think I should read, leave it down in the comments and tell me about it. And I'll see you next week.